Okay, let's see what we can do here. I had some problems with audio at the start. Wasn't working too well. So hopefully we got things going here. Give me a thumbs up if it's working or not working. I apologize. See what's kind of happening here. We're going to test and see if I got some sound. There we go. I got sound. Okay. Just started up Ecamm Live and it's saying, hey, couldn't get started. So I apologize for that. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know what's going on. If the sound is okay, I'll do my best to see if we can get it working properly. Hopefully it is. Hopefully it is. So what do we got here? I got sound working. Everything's good. Okay, good. Actually, when I set these up, I set it up to go to LinkedIn, to Facebook, and also to YouTube. And Looked like it didn't go to YouTube and LinkedIn today. So, sorry, to Facebook and LinkedIn today. So, again, I apologize for any issues there. So, who do we have here? Who's Dean? Hey, thanks for coming on, Dean. Let's see if anyone else comes on. If you are on, of course, the chat is open. Put in any questions you want, what's going on, what you're up to, anything having to do with starting, building, growing education business, and I think math teacher from Lisbon, Portugal. Hey, very cool. Thank you very much for joining today. And again, these are absolutely open sessions. I kind of have something to talk about because I always do. But I prefer obviously to have some questions. So if you do have them, put them in the chat. And remember, there's nothing, there's no silly questions. There's no overly complex or overly simple ones. I'll do my best to answer them based on the research and the stuff that I try and know about. And then if I don't, again, and someone else has another resource, put it into the chat. We'll go investigate it, do it live. And if I don't know, I'll basically send you to any of the tools or resources that I've actually looked at, but maybe not got into in as much detail on. So that's kind of where it is. I do have, and I'll just couple little interesting things. And just again, if there's questions, put them in. And I'll keep on double checking on the questions there just to make sure and see if any come up. Yeah, so here's something that came out yesterday, which I think is going to be kind of interesting. We just had GPT-5, and I put the title of this one about GPT-5 changes, course creation, and a bit of a review and a live Q&A. I started seeing a whole bunch of stuff yesterday about Google Gemini version 3 coming out. Apparently, there's been some code that has been leaked that the developers are finding with Gemini 3.0 and Gemini 3.0 Pro. And they're talking about a release of this at the end of the year or at the beginning of the fourth quarter. So that is October. It's August, September, October, and then we have this other kind of huge launch. And there's a whole bunch of things that they've been leaking at Google, and again, they really make a difference on how we consider creating content for and/or teaching directly. And then they're starting to leak these little pieces out. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in that particular space with Google. So those are the kind of things I'm thinking about. All these different tools. How does it change when we think about creating courses or teaching stuff online, or more importantly, marketing the stuff that we're teaching, whether that be in an institution and or one-on-one. When we're selling courses in the business, kind of in the business world, the traditional place where I got started. So let me know, what do we have for questions here? Testing out MBLN video overview. Coaching explored. I'm testing out the NotebookLM video overview. This is taking a while, but it looks really interesting if it does what I think it will. Yeah, actually, that's one that I have a video coming out, I think, later this afternoon. And one of the other viewers that's on, Dean, we did a bit of a deep research, and this is just a real simple process, but we did a deep research, and I think it was on ChatGPT when it first came out. We basically said, we want to take a look at using case-based training or case-based, providing cases to students and or replacing a course with using cases, and it did this, pretty detailed. I think it was 54 or 55 page response. And then what we did is we said, well, you know what? Why don't we take this PDF that the deep research created, and we'll just go give it to NotebookLM and see what it comes up with. I'll pull that one up so we can actually take a look at it, because what we ended up doing is, let me just open this one up here. So we'll go to NotebookLM. Hopefully we'll be able to see it here. And again, so we had NotebookLM opened up, and I'm going to move another monitor over here, another screen. Just minimize that. I got 400 tabs open as always. Too many windows. So what we did is we basically we put together case study learning with AI assistance, and this was on the 4th of August that we did. And we had one source, and that source was just the actual deep research document. So it was 54-page PDF that was created, and what we did is we just opened up this video, asked for a video overview, and it did a 4.5-minute video, and I can actually provide it to you. Maybe, hopefully I don't get any feedback here when I try it. So I'll just play it. Now remember, what happens with these, if you haven't used this before, I think this is available worldwide now, but on the right-hand side, the way the studio kind of shows up here, it's a little bit different from before. So you should have 4 kind of button or areas here, and one of them now is video overview. There only used to be one audio overview, which was a AI generated podcast between 2 people based on the source documents that you'd put over on the left-hand side. But now there's one's a video overview, and what this does is it does an overview, but it creates a video based on the length and amount of detail in the resources that you've given it. And it creates a video. It generates all of the content of the video, including all of the graphics. And it does a really, really good job with it. I think the one that I'll show you here, it was pretty impressive. And one of the things I was kind of thinking of is, you know, what's going to happen if we do some research and on YouTube, you basically just upload videos that Google has done as, stuff on your channel. I don't know what actually happens there, but in terms of marketing or creating content, this is a really good tool to kind of play around with. So let me open this one up just so that you can kind of see it. And this one did take, how many minutes did it take? Yeah, I'm not sure. It did take like 15 or 20 minutes to actually create the video, and it was 4.5 minutes long. And if I get some feedback on this, I apologize. We'll see if I can get it to work properly. Oh, let's see if I can get it to go here and open up in a wider one. So will this open up? Oh, that's too close. Okay, so basically, again, remember all of the graphics, everything is included here. It was almost 5 minutes long, 4 minutes and 50 seconds. So let me just play it, and hopefully we'll be able to go and hear it.
Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into a topic that's right at the intersection of education and technology, case-based learning, and how it's being totally shaken up by artificial intelligence. All right, let's get right into it. So just imagine for a second, what if instead of just reading about a complex business problem or a tricky medical diagnosis, you were actually the one in charge, the one who had to make the call? Well, that's exactly the idea we're going to dig into.
So this is pretty cool. Think of it as like a slide deck with a narration, but all of the text, all of the graphics, all of the layout is actually done by NotebookLM. And again, this was just based on one particular document. I haven't personally done any testing in terms of the length of document, but I would suspect that obviously the videos are a little bit longer than the more content that you give it. So that one is really, really cool. And I think it's just an example of where things are going in terms of content creation, where, in the past, maybe it was like we would have had to do 7 or 8 kind of distinct prompts to create a slide deck, to, put a script together, all of these things, and even our voice to narrate it. This is something that was done in 15 minutes based on one document that we put up. So this one's going to be kind of cool to actually see what happens on that one. Yeah, and a lecture, the lecture presentation, supplement tool. Again, it depends on where you're using this, right? I come at it from the course creation marketing side, if you're in a higher education space, where you use this, I'm not sure. You're the expert on where the content is appropriate, but these are things that you can start generating quickly that hopefully will save a whole bunch of time for you. And it's, funny you mentioned that. One of the things that, let me just see if I can open this one up here. I was trying to figure out, for this today, I was trying to figure out, what are the things that are changing with uh, ChatGPT and the things that we used to have to do that now AI is kind of, not kind of, but is actually automating and getting out of the way for us. So I'm going to see if I can pick up one that I had here. I did one actually. I did 100 tasks that someone in the higher education space, a traditional teacher, would do. And then I had 100 tasks that someone who was from the marketing side, digital marketing space kind of doing. There was 100 of each of them. And the one that was interesting was that based on where we are today and the tools that we have available today, it was looking at, I think it was 58 of those 100 tasks were now completely hand-offable to some of these AI tools. So stuff that you normally had to do that was, not teaching live with real people, but all of those other tasks, these are ones that we can kind of hand off and make really, really simple for people to be able to, actually get going on this. So kind of cool stuff. We'll see what happens there. So what else we got for questions? Let me pull this one up. And again, anything is here. 8 minutes to complete. Yeah. So what do I say? Lecture. I've tested, but very bad on presenting real functions. Not good for helping maths teacher. That's a really good thing. Question. And here's something that I saw as a demo. I don't know if you've tried this before, but you might want to at least take a look at it. If you have had a chance, go take a look, and I'll open up another copy here. I'm going to open up a copy of ChatGPT in the browser so that you see it. And one of the things just to play around with here, and again, I've saw this in the demo. I'm not a math teacher, so I don't need the visual representation of the math, but in here, when you go to the plus sign, see if I can make this bigger. One of the ones that is now available is, let me see if I can get this one to show up more. Yeah, study and learn. So if you go take a look at study and learn, I think it's capable, but in study and learn, put in the description of something as a math question that you might want to ask, because one of the ones that I saw was it actually created the maths um, and visually represented it so that the student can actually play around with it. So again, I haven't tried this one, but I know it's capable of it. I saw the demo of it. Where it was not where it was specifically, I don't know for an exam for sure. So if you haven't seen this before, GPT-5 came out with this study mode that's available. Uh, it I did a video on it earlier. The cool thing, of course, is that it doesn't answer any questions. Not like GPT-5. It's like it'll always ask you questions, find out where you are, and then guide you to whatever outcome or thing it is that you're trying to learn. So that one's kind of cool. Now, if you haven't looked as well, and I'll show you this one just so that it's seen, is let me just we'll go to Gemini here. If you go to Gemini as well, this was announced Thursday or Friday. If you do the same thing and you go into the bottom left, and on this one here, uh, there we go. Guided learning is on the right-hand side here now. So they have something similar to study mode, and it's available. So you've got now where you've got Claude, you've got Gemini, and you've got ChatGPT that have these traditional teaching kind of scenarios where it'll actually not answer questions, but ask you questions, find out where you are, and then guide you on the particular pieces that you need to go through to actually learn something. So this is going to be kind of interesting, if you're creating a course or if you're creating some kind of content. It's like, why would you teach something that a student or anyone who has a free GPT account can go and actually work with and kind of go through it? So that one's going to be kind of neat. Play around with that one if you haven't. and see if you can get something with the mass. Again, I don't know the one, so I'd be interested to find out if that kind of gets itself fixed up or something. Uh, Coaching explored. So the video just finished, about 8 minutes to complete, 6-minute video. It looks very similar to yours, visual aid wise. Thinking this is a great tool and supplement. Yeah, I think this is for me personally, and put this in the comments or the chat. What I'm finding, and this is something that I think we're all going to have to deal with, is that it's getting so easy to create good content that has value in it in terms of being content. I think it's going to be really hard to focus on what is the purpose of creating the content and kind of moving towards that. I did I watch videos all the time, obviously, and people that I subscribe to. Some of them are from the marketing side again, some are from the higher ed side. And it's like there's this kind of big shift or challenge between what is the purpose of actually creating the content now? And is it worthwhile to create the content? Or is the content what you want the student or the course purchaser to actually create and you work with them? I've been playing around, personally with this whole idea of instead of being a content creator to be a conductor. And I think, my guess is that that's kind of where it's leading for both kind of people, which is going to mean talking to people live again, which is something that a lot of people, they maybe the reason they got into courses or coaching or teaching is because something could do that. Um, I use NotebookLM for sending audio resumes for my classes to students. Yeah, very, very cool. There's all sorts of really neat ideas with that. Um, and again, there we go, 6-minute video. So when you say audio resumes, does that mean you're doing the podcast or you're putting it together and basically getting the summary of it and sending it to the students beforehand? That's one of the things that I've seen as well. A lot of the people that are in the teaching space are trying to, again, these are the feedback and the comment I get. I'm not formally trained in the education perspective. I have taught a little bit at college in the past, but not formally trained there. And I think, a lot of people who are in the AI stuff are trying to offload the content, or what I'm seeing is they're trying to get content to people more so before the classes and use it as a supplement to actually have interactions with people during the classes. So, yeah, the audio resume, that would be explaining a logarithm function. Yeah. Now, what would happen if you did go and you told them, again, this is something just to be pretty cool, is let's say you go to ChatGPT and you basically ask them to go and say, explain a logarithm function to me. So you tell them to actually go to the study mode in ChatGPT 5 and ask them to do it. See, this is one of the things that I've kind of been playing around. And I think, that I've talked about a little bit more, and I'll open this up for a second. And this is one of the cool things that I think is interesting for this space. And again, if you haven't seen these, the way that I work is I try and put as much content into mind maps as talking points or ideas that kind of work through this. And I think one of the real cool things that with this is if we get into study mode and you have someone who doesn't or has a basic understanding of something and they go into study mode, it's going to find out that they have a basic understanding and it's going to guide that person differently than someone who has a more experienced background or understanding of something. So it's going to be, I think there's going to be a lot of personalization that's going to be happening in the future. And that's why I think courses are going to be in trouble, because whenever someone makes a course, and again, this is from the side of the marketing slash course creation side, most of the courses that people from that side make are courses for themselves based on their kind of own knowledge level. And you have one course that is supposed to apply to a wide group of people. And we're looking at right now, we've got AI tools that are available in the middle of 2025 that are now being able to create content and or guide people based on that unique person's situation and knowledge level. So this is going to be a fundamental change in any of the things that we're using with AI when we're thinking, oh, what content do we create? But I think more it's getting to be what kind of situation do we create to allow the people to actually get in and actually learn with it. Um, and again, I'll just go through some of the things that happened with GPT-5. And this isn't even one of them. This was actually Genie, which came out from Google last week. And if you haven't seen that one, I'll make sure that we get to that one there. Yeah, this is the one that was kind of interesting for me. And again, these are some of the ones that it just came up, and I'll make these a little bit bigger. And these are on GPT-5, things that came out in the last week, and stuff that I kind of put together and some use cases on this. And let me just go back and make sure there's no questions. Again, I'm on my own here, so sometimes if I flip back and forth, um, just okay. Been thinking about I started to use Perplexity, the different perspectives on each LM. Yeah, personalization is the exciting part for the study mode. Yeah, and the other parts that's going to happen here, I think there's a couple things that are going to make that even more interesting. And these ones here, I have some ideas. I'll just pull them up on the screen so you can see them. These are just some of the things that came up that were announced as new features in GPT-5, which is available now, right? And the part that's interesting to me, if you ever get a chance, there's a YouTube channel called Moonshots. And if you ever get a chance to watch that one, it's 4 or 5 guys. One of them is a professor at MIT. There's a couple other people that host conferences, and it's all in this AI space. And one of the things they talk about is what's going to happen over the next 6 months or the next 12 months, and what are the important parts and pieces that are moving around. And the thing that they're always talking about is we're looking at a 2 to 3 month doubling in the ability of these AI tools to do things. So, a lot of people that I talk to are talking about doing stuff the old way and thinking, well, it's not going to happen for a while. And they're talking that it's doubling every 2 to 3 months. So, if that's the case, how are we going to plan for that? And I think personalization and some of these little things that I'll talk about quickly here is going to make a big, big, big difference on that. One of the things they just announced here was connectors for GPT-5. I'll show you that one in a second. The reason that is interesting is, I think, is because what it allows people to do is connect their existing data set or the data that you give them and then interact with that particular content. If you're unfamiliar with a term called RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation, and or MCP tools, which is Model Context Protocol. Basically what it is RAG says, here's a data set that is separate from what, ChatGPT and these other ones were trained on. And then the MCP says, okay, here I am. Here's my large language model tool, my AI tool, and I want you to be able to connect to some additional pieces. So this one, connectors, and again, it allows you to connect to all sorts of additional data but also tools. So, student, person that buys your course, they're in a situation now where they can connect tools, data to their instance of ChatGPT or Claude or any of these other tools. And they now have access to a whole bunch of content, maybe that wasn't just what was being trained on. So, if you're handing out content or if people are trying to figure out how to do something, it's not just trying to get an answer from ChatGPT now. They can use research documents or create research documents and use that as the basis of the stuff for the questions that they're making and the answers that they're getting. So connectors is kind of cool. I'll just show you where it is quickly so you can see it. And again, sometimes, and again, this is for me personally, sometimes what happens is when I go and look at these, they don't show up in the desktop version. And I'm in Canada, so sometimes this stuff is a little bit delayed, but it does show up in the web version. So let me do this one here. I'll just open up one that I get here, study mode. And what have I got here? Yeah, so if you look in the bottom of the screen, and let me get rid of that one so we can see it there. So if you hit the plus sign and you're in the web one, you'll see that we've got add photos and files. We've got add from Google Drive. Okay. Agent mode was one that I can talk about in a second. Create image. And then they have connected apps and then more. So this is the one where that study and learn is, and also Canvas, which is another important one. But connected apps is here. And in my particular case, on this one, uh, what are the ones that I have here? Sorry. I have a whole bunch of connected apps and I can add additional sources that are here. So in my case, I've got Canvas hooked up, Google Drive up, and there's Box, HubSpot, Notion is here, and you can connect more. So, things like your Gmail, your Google Drive, your calendar, all of these things now are available with the prompts that you're making in GPT-5. So, things that used to have to try and figure out, I do a prompt in ChatGPT and then I go to Canva to do something. We can now start creating images or social media posts or infographics or presentations directly within ChatGPT and actually work with some of these connected tools and start analyzing stuff in Google Drive and using our documents to actually take a look at and research the content that we have, whether it's in a sheet or PDFs or Google Docs or presentations. It's got a direct connection to those things, which is kind of cool. So I think connector is going to be an interesting one. All of the tools have it. It just got formally announced, I think was in the GPT-5 one, but there's going to be more and more and more connectors. So anytime that you're thinking about, I'm just going to put a prompt in, and if I do a good prompt, I'm going to get a good answer. That's not the case. For us, it opens everything up, but also for the people we're trying to teach and or trying to sell a course to. They have access to this content as well. So here we go. Yeah, Pete, that's the guy's name, Peter Diamandis, Moonshots. Good one to follow for future looking stuff. Yeah, I love that stuff. They have a lot of people on. They usually have one or kind of outside guest, and then maybe two, sometimes three people internally that ask questions. I think there was one with Eric Schmidt who used to do Google, and they had the guy who was a starter who founded DeepMind at Google, their deep research one that was kind of the basis for all of this. And they had some really, really interesting stories. The one that I was looking for a quote from, and if there's anyone on here or watching this that is like in the higher education space, I guess one of the students was talking, or one of the guests was talking, the last one that I watched, and they were talking about, growing up and having kids. Like I'm a first time grandparent just recently, and I'm trying to think now what's going to happen if my grandkids or your kids are graduating high school in the next 2 years or 3 years. Are they going to go to university? One of the comments that was made is, what do you mean university? Like, is a university or that environment going to even be around at that point? Are courses going to be around? It's changing that quickly. It's going to be really tough to see what happens for all of these institutions and what they actually do that used to be content based, but now have to be, I think, experience based. And there's going to be a big reckoning for anyone who sells courses or anyone who teaches. There's something's going to change. Something's got to break. What it is, I'm not sure yet. Uh, there's going to be people that push back and say, no, 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 it'll never happen. You have to have a human in the loop. Other people are going to be all in on it. I think it's somewhere in the middle. And I think there's an opportunity for formally trained teachers and or experts to be able to be that conductor of providing unique experiences that people want to have. And that's kind of the key one, that they want to have. They're in a community that they feel comfortable learning about that with another group of people who have a common interest. And that's why, my focus personally is on building these privately branded campuses. I think that's kind of a different way of looking at a formal institution. It's just like a group of people who are excited about something, who enjoy a particular topic or task, and go through that. Um, yeah, so let me do one here. Just go through these. Yeah, so one of the questions was, could a teacher or coach create a script to share with clients for ChatGPT study mode that has their guiding principles, could support Socratic practice for the client? Yeah, that's a really good question. There's actually, I don't know, let me just pull up a video here. I'm going to go to my YouTube channel. And again, if you haven't liked and subscribed to the channel, I'll show you the link here. Hopefully, well, you're on it right now. So if you haven't already, like and subscribe. I'm going to open this one up. And the reason I'm going to do it is because on this one, let me view the channel. So on the channel, one of the things that I did maybe 2 or 3 months ago is I created a custom GPT that had special instructions on how to use Socratic teaching methods. So basically, I used a GPT to do that, a custom GPT, and I wrote it. And that was before the study mode was available. So one of the things you can do is you can create your own custom GPTs on, basically how you want people or some set rules or guidelines and give the GPT to people, whether it's public or private, as long as they have that link, they would have access to do it, and you can probably do it that way. If you haven't already, in the trainingsites.io site, I actually created a GPT that creates custom GPTs. So I'll show that one to you as well. And custom GPTs are uh, I'm not a huge fan of them anymore. Google has what's called gems, which is very, very similar to it. I think there's still a place for them, but I find them kind of limiting. And I think they're good for a very, very specific use case. And if you have one, that might be kind of one way to go with that. So there's a video in here, and I think I don't know if I can actually find if I had something along with it. Yeah, I can't remember the video. It might have been this one here. But it was that whole idea of basically saying, like, don't answer anything. Ask me questions. Ask me where I'm at. Clarify my points. Have me explain or prove my points to the AI tool and say, why do you think that? Where did you learn that? Why do you think it works? Is that the only way to do it? Have you considered these different things, which is fundamentally different than going out and saying, here's the answer, create a really good prompt. So custom GPTs is a really good way that I think to do that, starting off just basic. And then if you've got study mode, yeah, absolutely. You can say, hey, here is a particular thing that we're going to be covering. I want you to use study mode based where you are, and then there's going to be some kind of evaluation as to what you learned or any of the missing pieces that are available using the study mode or some of those tools. The other one that's, for those ones, I'm going to talk about, I'll talk about AI agents in a second. I just want to talk a little bit more about this creating kind of situations for people to learn about stuff. And this is we have at the trainingsites.io, we have the campus. There's VIPs, and every week what we do is we get together and kind of chat about stuff live in real time on Zoom. And again, if you haven't already, please make sure to go and join trainingsites.io/join. There we go. That's the link there. It's absolutely free to everyone to come in and kind of think about these things, look at what's happening, look at the tools that are available. We do have a community VIP area here. I'll just show it to you briefly. And again, this is the only paid section, and this is where we have kind of live classes or live experiences. And one of the things that we kind of came up with, which was interesting, I think, is the mix of giving the prompts to the people who are actually learning stuff. So giving the prompts to use and then having the person who's taking the course or is taking the live class with you or is in your formal course, but actually giving them all the prompts to do the work before they actually come to the class. And one of the ways of doing that is using agents, and the other way is using mini apps. And one of the examples that I came up with, and I think, one of the users who was on here today, we were talking about this yesterday, is you can spin up with GPT-5 now. It's very, very easy to spin up interfaces or basic mini apps. And I think I've been kind of calling them mini apps. And what I did on this one, I'll show you what happened on this one is, and again, if you haven't watched the video on replacing teachers or, deleting courses, I did a video about kind of deleting courses, how I think I have 45 or 50 courses that are actually in the training site, so .io campus, and they were in LearnDash, LMS for WordPress. They're there, but I disabled the plugin. I'm not using LearnDash anymore. The courses are shelved, and I did get rid of them. And the big reason is that I want to try and make it so that it's more interactive, or more creating miniature web apps, throwaway apps about a specific purpose. Now, this is just one, for example, that if you haven't seen in that video, was a demo at the GPT-5 launch. And in the demo, what happened is that the presenter used a two-paragraph kind of request, and what the request was, and I'll just make it here so we can see it. What the request was, um, to create an interactive web app. And they did this live on the demo, and it said, I want to demo the ability, and it says, I want you to look, where's the one it said? Create a beautiful, highly interactive web app for my partner, an English speaker, to learn French. And it had these requirements. And it actually came up with a really, really cool app. I don't have the screen here. I don't think it's available. I won't bring it up, but it worked really well, just like in the demo. And I copied and pasted the actual prompt that they used. So I was trying to figure, okay, well, what happens if I use it for something else? So what I did is I copied the same one, but I said, I want you to make it for learning basics on how to use a camera, a manual camera. And I just used the same prompt, but I changed the purpose of the course. But I asked for, what is it to learn, practice, quizzes. And one of the other things that they did is they had an interactive game that was snakes and ladders. It was a variation, and as we've got a camera chasing a light source here. So this has got a mini app that was created that has practice sessions, quizzes. It's got this, the key points, voice tips. It's multimodal. Practicing it through. It's adjustable kind of settings and stuff, and you've got to figure out and learn based on the notes that were done. And the learning part, you have to go and see which ones to go and kind of figure out with the notes. So this was done in, I don't know, 2 to 3 minutes. So if you're sitting on this and you're going, okay, I got to do a class, or I'm going to do a course on this, and you now with GPT-5, you can spin up a mini app in a couple minutes and make it available to the students. Why would you bother with a traditional course on 7 lessons and text and showing a picture of a camera, for example, and then trying to get people to understand what you're talking about in a static camera? I don't think there's any value in there anymore. I'm saying in general terms, obviously there's going to be exceptions to the rule, but that kind of way to spin up content beforehand and then actually get involved in real life and talking about it in what used to be the teaching part, I think that is really, really cool. Now, just to give you an example of this, we're playing around with it, and I was saying, what happens if for in just a live example, let's say someone is cybersecurity kind of training, and he's doing a cybersecurity class. And one of the things that they wanted to cover was email phishing. So the example that I came up with is, what about if he goes and creates, or she goes and creates a simple app that sends a phishing email, so to each of the students in the class before the class. So he basically spins up a little app like this. He puts in the email addresses in this, and he send some phishing emails to my students beforehand. So what the little app does is it sends out some emails, and basically it lets him know who opened the emails. So the students come to the class, or the students take the cohort that's doing, or the live class, or the seminar, or the webinar, whatever's happening, and he knows that 12 out of the 30 people opened his phishing one. He's got live stats, live examples of people in the class that have fallen for what it is that he's actually going and teaching. So spinning up apps like this is just kind of the next step. And I think this one's going to be an exciting, and just as exciting as agents. And so let me know what you think about that. And if you played around with these ones, I think the mini apps are going to be really, really cool. And there's a whole bunch of tools available to do that. Um, and again, that's time for another video. But if you want to just see how these work, open up ChatGPT and let me do this. I'll do it in the background. Let's do, let me do this one here. I'll do this in the background just while we're going, and we'll actually see what happens on this one. So I'm just going to copy this. So here's what I'm doing. I'm copying the actual prompt that I have, and we'll go open up ChatGPT in another window and see what happens here. Okay, should be running in the background here. Hopefully it is. I think it's running. We'll find out in a second. If I have enough bandwidth of what's going on, hopefully that'll work. Okay. Yeah, so agents. Um, this one, I am not really good with agents personally. It's something that I'm working on, but I think agents, and if you're not familiar with agents, there's a lot of other videos on it. My kind of switch on this is that if you have a process that involves multiple steps and multiple tools, where you have to have AI in there that actually either allows it to follow the steps or works on any of the steps independently, being able to create agents or these things that we can offload, I think there's a whole bunch of value in those ones. So, agents, you can create them for all sorts of different things. Sometimes I think like an agent, a lot of the ones that you see are like lead generation or creating slides or things where you want it to do some research, create a slide deck from it and, kind of pieces. And that will automate it all. But of the agents that I've seen, it takes a little bit of time, energy, and effort to do something that's more complex for the course part. If you're just saying put some information into a Google spreadsheet, go and do a research or, go and do some scraping of a website or summarize some YouTube videos and put it into a spreadsheet. Those ones are pretty easy and you can do that definitely. What I've had trouble with personally is having an agent that does research on a topic, creates pieces of a course or content that I may use to teach, and then add it to, for example, a learning management system or creating additional resources with it. So personally, I find it's a little bit harder to actually have happen in real life. And there's a number of tools. And let me know if you want me to go up with those particular pieces. Now, here's the interesting one. You're going to hear something. Let me see if we can get this to actually go. I don't know if I'm going to pull this up again. Can't remember if why it didn't go on this one. No, it's not working on this one. Sorry. Let me just pull up the one that I did earlier. Unable to load history. That's why. I'm going to refresh my screen. There we go. Okay, so this is working in the background. There we go. So we'll let that one go in the background. This is going to hopefully create a mini app for us in the background. Now this is word for word the prompt that they had at the GPT-5 announcement. Again, 2 paragraphs, pretty straightforward. It can be done with anything. This is just the one that they had put together. So here's the one with agents, and I'll go over some of the sites with this. There's 2 kinds of agents that are going to be interesting. So here's kind of the first one that people aren't talking about. That is, you're going to hear people talk about it more right now. And let me just make sure I go to the right one here. There we go. So you're going to find there's a little piece of text here. I think we're going to find lurking agents. And I've heard this term before, but in much as the agents that you see now, and we can, if you want some names, I'll put a list of some names actually in trainingsites.io. When I put the copy of this up, I'll put there's a whole bunch of N8N, there's a bunch of these sites that basically allow you to create these agents. But all of those agents require some kind of trigger that is either manually added by you or it's something that happens in a connected tool. So one of the ones that I think that's going to be interesting, and there's a lot of people talking about this, again, like at the moonshot level, which means it might be in the next 3 to 6 months. But these lurking agents that are waiting for all sorts of other stuff to happen. So it knows, for example, if something is updated in your calendar about a particular topic, that maybe it has to start doing something. So if you schedule a class in the future, or if you're going to have a cohort or a live training in the future, and it notices it's on a particular topic, that agent may start running in the background doing the research for it, creating the slides for it, creating quizzes, building a mini app. So lurking agents are going to be like another step kind of past it. And I think the other term you might hear are ambient agents. Uh, but the idea here is these are ones that are just kind of sitting out in the ether that are connected to other agents and all of these additional tools that we have. And I think you're going to start seeing that probably in the next month, more people talking about those agents. Now, having said the agents, the ones that are really interesting are the ones that are the browser agents. And I'm going to show you two interesting ones. And will remind me to do, if I haven't already, remind me to do the comment one after, because it's more than a browser agent. It's one step past. It's from Perplexity. So let's go take a look at some of the ones right now while that other one's spinning around in the background. So on this one, what I'm going to do is in GPT-5, I'm going to go to that one after. So there's a couple. Here's two that are popular ones. One of them is called genspark.ai. The other one is called manus.im. And these ones are called super agents. This is the one from Genspark called super agent, but these are browser agents. And basically what these ones do is they, it's just like using GPT or, Gemini or Claude. But basically what you're doing is you're saying, these are the tasks that I want you to do within a browser. So think of it as yourself logging into a website, doing something, a particular thing, uploading something, logging in, editing something, going to Google Sheets and adding a presentation, and putting together all of these different pieces in some kind of agent. But it's things that are done in the browser. So it's not just a prompt and response, it's actually a series of tasks that are done in a browser. And these tools basically spin up a browser that works in the background, and you can actually watch it do things on the website in the browser, and they spin up its own browser window. GPT just did this. They used to have something called Operator a couple months ago. They've turned that into what they're calling agents now. And if you go and try that, which is available right now by that agent one, when we were looking at the tools by the plus sign, it basically spins up a virtual desktop, thinks about what it has to do, and then it works as a browser live in the browser. GenSpark does exactly the same thing. And I think there's a free one that you can get started with it. But that super agent, there's a whole bunch of examples here on what they can do. And it's pretty wild because it's not just limited to the browser. They can make phone calls, do direct messaging stuff. Again, all sorts of really, really interesting ways of offloading the stuff that we normally have to do. The one that I'm more familiar with came out, when was maybe 2 months ago, and I got in and played with this one quite a bit. Log into this again. So Manus came out before GenSpark. Double credit promotion. There we go. We'll come back to that later. The one that I did here, just as an example, is I basically said, I want you to create a LearnDash course. So this was done before I switched things over. And I basically said, gave it a prompt about what I wanted the course lessons to be about. And I said, on this one, I said, use AI to create the course content. I want it to be 7 lessons. And I did understand your smartphone. And I said, here's the different pieces that I want to have. So I said, write the content. And it wrote the content. And then I also said, what I want you to do is I want you to log into my WordPress site. I want you to upload the new course that you created. I want you to go to my shopping cart, create a product for this price. And then what I want you to do is make the course hooked up to the shopping cart. so that would be available for sale. Um, and Manus basically did that. It went through those steps, but it was in the browser. I had to provide some information. It stopped a couple times and said, "Hey, what's the login to the WordPress site?" So anytime there was any kind of authentication or things like that, it made it available. But the thing is, it was a browser agent that I handed off some of the work that I maybe would have had to do in the past. Some of it was to AI, some of it was stuff directly in the browser, but it took care of it and had it done. Was it perfect yet? No. Did I have to go and massage it? Of course. Did I have video tutorials that were with it? No. Did I had quizzes that I did with it? No. But that's the kind of stuff that's available now, handing off a whole bunch of these particular tasks that maybe aren't the ones that you want to do. And I think still that human loop part is really interesting. So here's one other piece, and I'll just talk about this one. And sorry, I get ranting on these. I get kind of excited. There we go. Okay. Client access a mini app. We'll do that one in a sec. So here's the other one, and this is in a long-term view. This is going to be interesting because you know how I showed I was just talking about having that app, that uh, browser app. The other one that's here, I'll open this one up so that you can see it. And I don't know if you have it yet, but from Perplexity, they have a tool called Comet. And Comet is, instead of actually opening up having the AI tool open up a virtual desktop, what Perplexity Comet is it's its own browser. So instead of going to open up Chrome, you would go and open up Comet. And Comet has the AI built directly into the browser. And it actually opens up. Um, I just downloaded it because I just got access to it actually yesterday here in Canada. But basically, what happens is you have, when you're doing AI stuff, it's basically got two panels in it. One is a regular browser, and then the other one is the AI tool that you can interact with directly on the site. And the thing that with this is Comet is Chrome. It's an open source version of Chrome. So all they've done is they've integrated the two ones and they put them into their own browser. And I think this is one of the things that's going to happen is these companies are not going to spin up special virtual desktops. The browser and the AI tool is actually going to become the browser is actually going to become the AI tool. So you're not going to have to go somewhere to do something or log in and copy and paste and put it into somewhere else or have some virtual desktop opened up. It's going to be, the browser where you are. That's where the AI is going to be sitting directly in the browser. So if you can, go try that one out. There's some really good examples here in the demo. And you can see in the one that they do here, I think I can stop this. Yeah, so on the left-hand side, and then you've got on the right-hand side, it's basically interacting with AI. So it's the browser that works with you. They're talking about doing your email, search, talk, shop, watch, travel, everything. So it doesn't matter what you're looking at. If you're on a website for e-commerce, if you're on a YouTube channel, if you're on a Google Doc, it doesn't matter. It's directly here working with you, and you can do all of this stuff by handing it off. So that one's called Comet. There's a couple other ones I haven't played with. Comet is the one that I'm familiar with, and I'm going to start using. And again, they have a trial to actually go and start using that. Mini apps, we'll try that one in a second. See what happens. Some apps will give you a QR code. Yeah, cool. Efficiency, agents look not ready to give access to everything. Yeah, it does make some weird errors. The GPT-5, from the stuff that I did in terms of research, I didn't test thoroughly. The the ratings and stuff they give it, they've reduced the hallucinations and some of the junk that comes out of it. So I think there's still obviously a human in the loop that has to be there, and I hope it's us. And I think that's what makes us different. How much that we get involved as the human in the loop to clarifying and making sure that there's an experience around the content. That's the stuff that's going to make us stand out. So yeah, so here's the one QR code. Let's go see if it actually created my app here. Yeah, there we go. So on this one here, we gave it those 2-paragraph prompt. Let me see if I can get this one opened up. And this one was about teaching someone French who's an English speaker. I'm just going to click run code. And there's an app. So that was done in a couple minutes. We've now got dashboard, flashcards, quiz, a game, and settings. And we've got also on this one, I think in the settings, there's the ability to do, got gamification, enable sounds and voice, text to speech. On this one, I am not going to speak French or try to speak French. I'm not going to play around with that one. Say it out loud and we'll do that. Not going to do that one. And then we have actually the game here. So on this one, it's just a, don't we, yeah, replay.
Répète, bu. Répète, aujourd'hui.
There we go. So let's see what happens here. I think we got an app here.
Répète, jour.
Okay, there we go.
Répète, vous.
Let's get
Répète,
out of the game
fromage.
here. Quizzes. But again, very, very simple app that was built in a couple minutes with it. The question is, how do you deploy it? There's a couple ways of deploying it that I'm aware of right now. On my particular desktop, I do have the ability to run apps. My understanding on these ones is that you can publish these to GitHub, which is basically a repository. And what it does is it takes this code, puts it on GitHub, and then there's a whole bunch of some of those other platforms that I was talking about, or Lovable, for example, .dev or bolt.new, and you can basically say, hey, deploy it, and it has its own website URL, and it's done, and you can clean it up, make some changes to it on those platforms, and then it's available for anyone that who has that public loop. On mine, it just runs here locally, but you'd have to put it on some other platform to actually get it to run. And whether or not that is your own server, for example, where you host your website, or it's one of these other ones like Lovable or Bolt is the one that I use frequently. So let me just open up. So Bolt is one that does, Bolt is one that allows you to, in my case, so this one was a YouTube video creator that I built. It's going to spin it up, see if we can get it to spin up. And this one, you can just publish it. So I'd be able to import the code we just created, click publish, and it has a URL with it. And you can even have it with your own domain name. So you can, have a URL for it and make it available. So that was one that I just kind of put together as one of these apps. This one took YouTube videos and turned them into courses. Took the transcripts, turned them into courses based on the difficulty or the level that someone wanted to do on that one. So yeah, let me other more questions. Let me know what we got there. Whole afternoon yes, trying to get up, and then I discovered base 44, which is amazingly simple as well. Yeah, and that's really that's. Thanks for mentioning that. I have Bolt .new, which I've done some cool stuff with, but I didn't get it absolutely perfect the way I wanted it yet. That's why I haven't done this one. Let me see if I can get the other one to spin up here. There's another one that is the one that was just mentioned, which was V.0 from Vercel. And that one is another one that works like Bolt, where you basically chat with the app, but it creates you basically chat just like you do with ChatGPT, but instead of giving a responsive text, it actually writes code to create applications based on what it is that you're chatting with. And the whole idea on these is that if they're simple, there's generally not any problems. But when you start connecting a whole bunch of different things together, you may have to ask for some help to some technical help to get these to work properly. But if you have a good idea, it doesn't cost much to have someone who is a official coder, and they have directories of people who are doing it that, here's $100. Can you fix what I did and make sure that it works? and then click publish, and it is now published on a URL. And on these ones, you can actually go and this one's not published. You can actually go and have it as part of your own domain name. And again, these ones are meant, this is that vibe coding stuff that you may have heard of. A lot of these have the ability to do, Stripe payments or login credentials. And there's people that are actually making small apps on these ones. Um, I haven't seen a lot for teaching stuff, but it's not out of the question. And it's getting easier and easier every time. I haven't used Base 44, which was just mentioned, but my understanding is it's quite a bit easier and people really, really like it. So that one's kind of cool. The other ones that are coming along, this one, what's this one? I have to remember that. There's one here. I'm going to show you one, a new one that I've been playing around with. This one's called String, and it builds apps on these ones just by doing the prompting. It doesn't, you basically tell it what you want. So you don't tell it what you want it to do. You basically give the big picture. I want you to create an app that does this. And it goes to do all of this stuff in the background. It's not, I need you to do this, connect this, do this, connect that, connect that. It's just like very, very, very simple, straightforward ones. That one's called string.com. That's an alpha. That's one I've been playing around with as well. And I think it's probably similar to the base 44. So, these are things that regular people can put together. Are they perfect now? No, not at all. Will they be in a month from now or 2 months from now or 3 months from now? I suspect they're going to be a lot easier. Just think about what's happened with GPT-5 in the terms of multimodality. That's the other thing that's changed, right? We're able to converse with the AI tools. And if you can explain easily what you want to have happen with a mini app by talking to these tools and say, no, I want it to look like this or do this, and be able to converse with it. The one that I also saw talking about Gemini, the brand new version of 3, is you would be able to do a scribble of an app and it will create the app based on your, handwritten diagram. So these things are happening end of the year. You're going to see this kind of stuff available. So I'm always thinking, do you want to plan on this and go, yeah, I'm going to record some talking head video from a slide deck that I had, or am I going to get on board with all of this AI stuff and see how I can leverage it, take advantage of it, offload stuff I don't want to do, and have times to actually interact and be with the people that I'm trying to teach stuff to, whether that be a course that's in the private sector or maybe something in the higher education space. So that's why that this every day you wake up and there's something cool, something new that happens, and it's really hard to stay focused, I think, on what the purpose is. What's the transformation that we want to provide? Not what is the content that I can create today. And it's really easy to create content. Everyone can create content. So, I think with your experience and the part that you have all of this knowledge, like how can you create experiences and use AI to help those experiences? I hope this makes sense to you. That's what I'm thinking about. Do I have all the answers? No, not at all. That's why I'd love for you to go to the campus and share what you're doing, share what's not working, and then kind of have some fun when we go and play through this. So, what else we got here for questions? Just playing around here, of course. Let me just see what we got here. Okay, start threading my health equity courses for the online community. Debbie Brady, thanks for coming on. Caught the tail end for once in a long time. Wonderful. This is recorded. It will be in the Training Sites campus, of course. After we do the transcription, I'll show this once just if there are new people watching this. This is one of the things that I've done with an app, a mini app that I created to try and offload something for myself. So I'll basically, a lot of considerations for GPT-5 release. I'll finish up. It's 2:05. I've still been talking here. I'll show you the one mini app that I made for myself personally inside that isn't perfect, but has saved a whole bunch of time just to get the idea of it when it comes to courses and leveraging community. And then the other thing, I'm going to go and take a look at a couple things at GPT-5 that I think are more important that people actually kind of think here. So let me just pull this one up here. There we go. Okay, so here's one of the ways that I built a mini app for myself. I've shown this one before, so please bear with me if you haven't seen it before. But what I wanted to do is for the community, for the training sites community, I am absolutely all in 100% on YouTube. The only marketing that I do personally is create YouTube videos, and I try and do at least one a day. They're unedited, live edits, and I do them with a couple tools that are for live streaming. You can use StreamYard or Riverside FM to kind of get started and record it. And basically, I do these videos as quickly as I can. But as soon as I have the video, what I want to do, or what I was doing before, is I would wait a couple hours or a day and I would manually go and get the transcript of the video. And then I would take the transcript and go to ChatGPT or another tool, upload the transcript, and then use some prompts to try and massage the content so that there was value other than just here's a dump of a transcript, but get some value, takeaway points, action items to basically say, look, here's a YouTube video. You can rewatch it again if you want, but here's a whole bunch of value add if you don't want to watch the whole video. So I was doing this manually, and then from there, I'd have it as a video that I could put into my WordPress site. But then after, I was having to send an email out to the members and say, hey, I just added a new video that's here on the site. And then I'd also have to say, oh, I want to send out some social media posts to let people know that it's there as well. So that's kind of the workflow that I've been playing around with the whole time. So what I wanted to do is, let me make sure I can find the right one here. Again, it's on one of the other browsers. So hopefully we'll be able to find that one. Yeah, okay, so here it is. So in my case, what I did is this was just done in Claude. And what I did is I just did some chats with Claude and said, look, I want to build an app. I didn't even use the fancier tools. I said, I want to build an app that uses, in my case, GPT-4 or Claude. And what I want you to do is I want you to use one of these prompts on a YouTube video. And I want you to go and get the transcript. I want you to apply these particular prompts. And then what I want you to do is I want you to add it to my WordPress site as a tutorial. And then from the tutorial, I also want you to write an email that I can broadcast out to all of the members that has a snapshot of what was in the video. So I did this as a mini app. This is something that could be done as an agent, as an example. So in my particular case, if I go and take a look, and we'll do a live one here so you can see it. Let's go to YouTube again. See if we can go to my channel. It doesn't even have to be my channel here. So for example, let's do one here. We'll do this one here, ChatGPT.
ChatGPT has officially arrived. Oh my god. Yeah, it's here. And it's a massive leap
So
forward
here's one here
for
from one of the
ChatGPT
people that
users.
I subscribe to. It's not even my video. So all I did is I got the link here. So I'm going to copy the link, and we're going to go to the tool that I created, and I'm just going to put in. So think of this for blog posts too, right? If you want to create blog posts or market anything, or you want to go and create content or understand other people's content, that's one of the things I've been doing as well. So I put it in here. I'm going to do a deep dive is what I want to see on what this person has said. And in my case, I'm just going to process one at a time. I'm going to start processing video. Now, hopefully, I haven't refreshed this one. Let me just do it just to make sure that I don't break it. And this one is running locally on, I've got a Mac here. This one's running locally on my Mac. So we've got deep dive, and I'm just going to start processing. So what's happening in the background here, it's going to YouTube, it's getting the transcript, it's using ChatGPT-4 to use the deep dive prompt that I created. And then in the background, what it's doing is it's going to go and post it to my website. And I think one of the questions that was earlier was about, do I post it right away and publish it? No, I don't. I put it as a draft and I go take a look at it and until I'm happy with it, and then I will mark it as a draft. So this one's still processing in the background. We'll wait and see what happens. And while that's going up, I'm just going to go and we'll go and open up training sites. .io, and we'll open up the tutorials just so you can kind of see that. Yeah, good question. Does it still work with 5? Yes, it does. So here's one that I did yesterday, just to give an example. So these are the tutorials that I have. And these are YouTube videos. Here's the YouTube video from earlier in the week. And then I have the synopsis or the synthesized or the cleaned up deep dive stuff that's here that was created. So this was actually created automatically without me kind of doing anything. We've got the YouTube video that's there, and then the transcript has all been cleaned up and put there. Okay, and then from there, the other thing that I did is you said, you know what, I want to make sure that I'm able to let people know that it's there. So what I did is go to this one here. We'll just take a look through, and we'll go to, we'll do Fluent CRM. That's the one I did, and I have campaigns. And actually, this is the one that I just ran before, the one that was here. That's the email that goes out. It was marked as a draft, so this one is just right now at 2:11. That was the one we just did. So that's basically there. It hasn't been set out, but I have an email that now I can broadcast that is out. And the tutorial that we just created from that document is marked as a draft. And then here's someone else's content that put in, but I have a summary / synopsis of it put together. So this is a mini app that did that. You can do the same thing with agents, take your content, massage it, use other tools, bring it in and put it into a particular part that's important to you. So this one looks like, we'll see what happens on there. Hopefully it'll all come in. There we go. So there's all the content that was put together. And if I go and preview that, we should see all of the stuff there based on someone else's video. But I just do this for my own videos, or I will do it for other people's videos where I want to keep us, kind of a snapshot of it and put it together. So mini app, that's just an example of one of the things that you might be able to do. Now, one of the questions that came up is when GPT-5 was announced, one of the things that they did, and if you haven't looked at it before, I'll open it up again. We'll take a look at it. There was a big kind of, if I look here on GPT-5, when you go and open up the app or the web one, you'll see it says GPT-5. When it first came out, there was only GTP5 and GPT-5 Pro, I think. There was only the 5 models. And I guess a lot of people kind of got upset. So if you have an updated version, it should have the 4.0 model there. So it is available still. I don't know when they're going to, kind of sunset it, but it is available there. And I'm using the API, which they didn't get rid of. So if it happens, I'll probably have to update it and go to the GPT-5. But they do have the older models that are still there now. So yeah, so that's one of the things just to be aware of, kind of moving forward with that. What else we got? Coaching a sport. Okay, any more questions? What else I got here? Anything else going on? I can talk about GPT-5, some of the things if you want, kind of just my perspective on it, and go from there. If you haven't already, please make sure, go and join the community. Tell us what's going on. Let's share some tools, wins, resources. This is all stuff that we're learning about. It's all applied differently for everyone in different industries at different levels. And I don't think there's any right answer. So if you have stuff you've run into, let's share it. Let's see what's happening. I think there's a really, really, really fun opportunity for anyone who likes teaching, who has a bunch of experience, who just wants to go, hey, I want to talk about this. There's some value in it for a group of people, and I want to be able to do that. And I think, for me personally, at training sites, the whole idea here is that I want to help people build their own privately branded community about what it is that they have an area of expertise in, that they can get people who are like-minded to be able to come and share all of that great information together. And I think in terms of learning, learning is changing now. Learning isn't about content. Learning is about how can we actually do things, implement things, apply things that we are all learning together or finding out about together to see which ones work and which ones don't, and obviously do more of the ones that work and less of the ones that don't work. And to go and try and figure this out by yourself, I think it's too confusing and too overwhelming, and it's going to get harder and harder as more people are throwing regurgitated ChatGPT stuff out. So having those live classes, having those live workshops, having those working sessions, giving people work to do and coming back and asking them to present on it, doing, I think it's called blue book exams. If you're doing, traditional teaching and worry about people cheating, some of the stuff I've seen is marks are on participation, on oral presentations, on physically written exams or tests. Those things are really, really cool. The other one that I've been doing a lot of research on, and I've talked about a couple other times, is some of the schools in the States now, for example, are using only AI for teaching content, and the rest of the day, and they do it in semesters. So three or trimesters, they do it over the year. And I think it's up to K-12 kind of situation, but they basically have working sessions. They have 1 to 2 hours of content, AI, their own agent that they work with one-on-one. Then they have 2 to 3 hours of live working on a particular project or area of expertise for those 3 months. And then they have to have sometimes a little bit of a lecture slash wrap up by a live person. And then they have to present at the end of the thing. What did they build? What was the skill that they acquired? How did they apply it? What worked? What didn't work? So this is completely different than here's my talking head video. Yeah, you watched it. So what? So, you know, talk to people, have some fun, share stuff. This is going to be an exciting time for everyone, and there's an opportunity to monetize it if you're interested in building your own campus, your institution, and charging people for access to you. That's the way that I've got training sites set up, is that I look at it and say, hey, I give away all my content for free. I give prompts away for free. I give videos away for free. I do stuff on YouTube. But if you want to work during these working sessions and you want a specific outcome, about, hey, I want to be able to create a campus. I want to create my community. I want to be able to have a place where I can organize this and work with people one-on-one. Yeah, you got to pay for it. And again, this is something that I've looked at as a business model. And if you start listening to people in the space that were coming from the business side, you're going to hear more and more about community, 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 community. And it's just people who have raised their hand and said, yes, I am interested in this too. And I'm comfortable with the way that you're talking about it. Some people are going to say, that community's not for me. That guy's full of it. Some people are going to say, hey, that makes sense to me. I understand that. Let's get involved and see what's going on with it. Either one is fine. I'm old enough to not get too hung up on whether or not people agree with me or not, but that's the way that I'm looking at it. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun doing that moving forward. Let me do, what else? I got, again, I get started on these things. I can't stop talking. I'll do one other thing here quickly. Starting a business, yes, absolutely. You can still start a business with a campus. Definitely with that. Okay, here's the other one. Just I'll talk about this just with GPT-5. It comes up, and then oh, here's a slide deck that I did. I actually did one before. This was in GPT-5. I did the agent. It basically created a slide deck for me. That's another one. We'll do a video after that on that one. Yeah, so what was the one that we had here? Go to this one here. This one was, yeah. So here's the deep research mini apps. Yeah, so here's, I think on this one here, I want to talk about this just briefly for a second. There's two things that are coming that are going to be even more exciting in the course/education space. This is my kind of dig on it. I think the one to watch out for the rest of the year is avatars. Um, I'm seeing stuff in the background, and I try and follow as much as I can. But people are starting to talk, not people. The people that I follow are starting to mention or talk about everyone having an avatar. So a personal tutor, an AI agent that is there with you all of the time. And there's even stuff with wearables happen. I did a video earlier in the week about wearables. So it's not being in front of the browser all the time or on the smartphone. There's stuff happening where you're wearing stuff on your wrist, you're wearing glasses, you have pendants. There's something in your pocket, and you have a live interactive companion that is personalized to you. And I think by the end of the year, we're going to see a lot more stuff happening in that space. So if I'm thinking about, how am I going to monetize this, or what are the things I need to think about if I'm teaching a course next year, or I'm putting together a video course to sell in the fall, and then in January, avatars come out that have the same content that I just put together in a course, or have more access to more knowledge than I do, and I can ask a question, a specific question about a specific problem, from an avatar that has a personality that looks lifelike, is based on an expert in my particular field. Am I going to ask for that single answer to a single question, or am I going to take a 1 hour course or sit through a webinar? So avatars is, I think, the one to watch over the next little while. There's already stuff coming out. Grok has the companions that I used for, I think, was not necessarily the right space. There's profiles from Google Labs that are coming out. These ones are kind of in the background, that is going to be even more disrupting for traditional teaching or traditional courses. There's still an opportunity there. I think that whole idea of capturing all your content, creating your own avatar based on your own content, licensing your own avatar, providing your avatar on other people's sites or to other people's businesses is something that might be kind of interesting. So cool stuff. Very, very cool stuff. It's going to be kind of excited for that. One last question here. Need to remember we're still about 10% adoption level worldwide and actively using AI, and I'm not worried about being trampled in my space. Yep. Here's the numbers that I saw right now. I think there was 750 monthly active users on ChatGPT, and so the stats that I've seen is there's been 1 billion people that have access to it. And I'm going to just talk about this for 1 second because I think this is interesting. There's something hidden with Google that is going to be, I think it's going to change how that people kind of look at that. And I agree with you right now. It's a very small percentage. The point that I'm trying to make is that people are starting to use it, but they don't know that they're using it. And I'll give you an example that I always run into, and this is why I think Google is so well placed in this whole thing. Anytime now that you are using anything in Google, whether it be search and or any of the tools that they have in the Google workspace, you now have Gemini built into that. So, in my particular case, I've got Gemini built in. This is on Google Drive. I can now go, for example, summarize a particular folder, for example, or take a look in here, or give me the key points from that, or move this folder to this, or combine these folders. But this is Gemini built directly into Google Drive. If I go now to Google Docs or Google Sheets, the little Gemini thing is there. So I'm not going to a website to prompt something to get a response. I'm actually starting to find it in the tools that I'm using, not necessarily on the desktop or there. So I think there's kind of an underground swell, and I don't think most people are going to go and say, oh, yeah, I'm using Google Gemini. It's like, no, I'm using Google Drive. And they have this thing where I can do this. So, and I don't even think these ones show up in the stats. So if you look and say, okay, how many people are using Google Workspace right now? Whether it's at home or at the office or at the school, this stuff's kind of built in. And I think, one of the reasons is that this kind of tool is something that just works. And it's not something that you have to create a mini app for, or you have to do something about an agent. These things are kind of just bubbling up in the background. So, in as much as it's only a small percentage now, yeah, I think it's going to grow very, very quickly. And I'm not really sure what that moat is for most people that are going to be able to say, my content is different. Is it that different now? I think the way you teach it can be different, and the way that you give an experience can be different. But people are going to have access to this stuff pretty quickly. So I think of moats, not trampled. Um, Again, personal opinion, I'm looking to see if I can create a tiny moat, just a little bit. And at the end of the day, I don't think we're going to be able to create moats per like traditional moats. It's like build your community of people and focus on building your community and helping people who raise their hand about what it is that you kind of teach. Because there's always going to be someone else that's teaching it or talking about it, and anyone can create the same content, whether it be now or sometime in the future. So hopefully that kind of helps. Just been talking about stuff. This is an exciting time. Stuff is changing quickly. And if you're watching this after the fact and you go, I don't believe that stuff, it's not going to happen to me. I think you got the head in the sand, and there's some real issues there. So what time? It's 2:27. I will answer this one question. One of the questions that just came up here, I tried HeyGen, interactive avatars for answering math questions. It's great. Yeah, HeyGen is a wonderful tool. There's another one called Synesthesia, I think, that I looked at like last year. I haven't looked at it since. But there's some pretty good workflows. And I think Dean, one of the other people that are on here, has done some great examples of it where people are uncomfortable being on YouTube maybe at the start, or don't or want to do stuff quickly, where they're using a tool called HeyGen and either using one of their built-in avatars and or created a lookalike avatar. So they're creating an avatar, that visual representation, and then what they're doing is they're using tools like 11 Labs to create and use scripts, audio scripts, and record the voice. And that voice can be trained on themselves, their own voice, and basically using that audio file in HeyGen to create avatars that look and sound like them. So that is a really cool tool. HeyGen, again, if you haven't already, put some posts in the trainingsites.io community there, because there's some people that are doing some really neat things with HeyGen and Labs, which are ones that, hey, if you're uncomfortable being on the video, if you just want to make sure that you're there but not there, or the speed at which you can create stuff with these avatars, it's pretty lightning quick. You got to pay for it, of course, but I've seen some people now that are doing in the AI space, they're doing 2 and 3 videos a day, but it's an avatar. It's not them in front of the camera, and there's no edits. They're just using the avatar and, basic slides or stuff that are coming up with it, putting it together, and it's in really good shape. So yeah, if you have some examples, put them in, go and put them in the space here. Let me just open up a screen here. My browser hung. There we go. Got too much going on. Yeah, so go into the community. If you have an example of HeyGen or one of those other ones, it would be great to see. I'd love to see what you're doing with it, how it works. Go ahead and share that. And if you have experience with any of the other ones, some of the other ones that we were talking about, like my computer, hopefully we're not crashed there. We're a little bit behind. Hopefully it's, did I get this one to go? No, my browser's not working anymore. I got too much stuff open. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I think I'll bring it in for landing. Any other questions there? 1 hour, 30 minutes. These happen every Friday. When are you teaching a course? Do you think it helps using an avatar or not? Okay, I will answer that one too. In terms of courses, that's a really good question. And right now, I'm going to see if we can get to that. I've got a browser, my Chrome browser is stuck. So right now, the way that I have the campus set up is that I'm doing working sessions once a week for the VIP members. So anyone who's a paid member, once a week we get on a Zoom call. It's not a live stream on YouTube. It's an actual Zoom call. And the whole idea there is that we actually work on stuff that you've been learning about and or you want to try or you need help with, or you're looking for other ways of doing things, but it's about going and actually applying it. So we do these live workout sessions. The other thing that I haven't done, but I'm just kind of putting the pieces around it, is I am going to do specific working sessions on either the starting, the building, and the growing of an education business. Not the problem, the challenge I'm having with that is because so much is happening so quickly, it's very difficult to try and jam uh, all of that stuff into a traditional class. So whether you call it a cohort or an hour-long session or like a mini working session about a particular topic, that's the part that I'm thinking about starting to do, and just say, hey, look, this week we're going to do 45 minutes or 30 minutes every morning, or this week we're going to do this particular focus on this particular outcome or this particular skill that we need. So might be about setting up your business model, making sure you have pricing right, sure that you have topics, your topical authority maps done, making sure the goals and objectives and all that stuff for your business. That's like 30-minute or 45-minute sessions in a week, live sessions where we actually work on it and do it. And then maybe the next week doing something on, hey, you got to build your campus out. Here's your choices. Do I want to use circle.so or do I want to use my WordPress site? How do I configure it? What are the things to do there? And what I'm doing in the background right now is I'm creating as many frameworks as I can to actually have these so that they make sense for people as we're starting to apply them. So I think what I'm going to do is if you like this kind of stuff, obviously like and subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up. My browser is dying here, so I think I'm running out of CPU because I got too many windows open. So I'm going to bring it in for landing. This will be available in the campus. I'd love to see you there and have some fun with all of this cool stuff. So it's jamestrainingsites.io. Take care. Expect the best. We'll be back later today with another video.